Okay, folks. So yeah, Derek Notman here. Thank you all for joining me. Super excited to have you today. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my journey and how I built this thing I'm calling an inbound sales machine. We'll just jump in here in a second. Make sure everyone's getting in the chat here and getting up and board. Hope everyone's having an awesome day. Not great weather here in Madison, Wisconsin today, but it's not snowing, so I'll take it. Otherwise, things are going well. Other than the internet went entirely out in my entire zip code today for about an hour, so a little bit of a freak out there. But what's kind of cool about adapting to the virtual model is I was able to hotspot my phone, and I tested this webinar using that, and I was able to make it work. Really, really cool stuff if you've got the right infrastructure. Okay, folks, well, we're going to get jumping in here and going. So what's this all about? Well, first, this is what it's all about. This is me and my family on a trip we had earlier this year. And, you know, as advisors, like, we can do so many cool things, and it's so awesome. I've got advisors from around the world joining us today. But why are we doing all of this? Why are we advisors? Why do we try to help people with their money? Why are we trying to build their businesses? And at the end of the day, I think it comes back to our families. I think it comes back to our passions and doing the things that we want to do that make us happy, that improve our lives, and, you know, to be the awesome examples that we want to be for our clients. So just know, like, this is what is driving me in my day-to-day advisory practice. This is what drives me to help other advisors, and what inspired me to create this this live virtual seminar today. All right, folks. So what are we going to be really talking about? What's the one thing today? The one thing is, how do you build an inbound sales machine that can increase your sales without ever having to cold call again or have these in-person meetings? I'm not saying the in-person thing is going away, but I think things have changed drastically considering this pandemic that we're in, although I would argue that that wave started before this pandemic even happened. So let's jump in and start going through this. So what's my goal today? So really, I want to help advisors have like a really awesome life. I want to help them do the things that are important to them. And how do we do that? Well, I think I've found a way to do that. So my goal is just to help as many advisors live the life of their dreams to create a better advisor experience. And by doing that, we can create a better experience for our clients, and then everybody wins. That's what's so cool about it. So this is my goal. And just so you guys know, just a little housekeeping, if you've got Facebook open right now, or your email, LinkedIn, whatever, I'm just going to ask you that you guys would close all that stuff and just really pay attention to this webinar. I think you're going to get a ton of value out of it, and would just greatly appreciate your attention. Okay. So something to ponder as we're going through this. If you were to get one new client a month that would generate $5,000, let's say, of new revenue, what would that mean to you? How important is that to you? What would that mean to your business? I think that's something that we all probably can answer really quickly. We would love, but think about it. What would that actually really mean to you? Okay, and just as a quick little giveaway, so one of the things I have that I offer as part of the Virtual Advisor system is that I have this really awesome business and personal cash flow tool that all fits in together. It took over 15 hours to create it, so I've got to give my wife props for that. Wanted to make sure that if you guys stay through with me, I'm going to be giving that to you. It's just free. It's something I include in the system for people that get into the system, but I'm going to just drop that actually into the chat later so you guys can all download it yourself. It's pretty cool. Okay, so what makes this different, right? So I think this is where we have to really think about. So I built my own virtual practice. As some of you know, I started my journey back in 2013 when I started Transition. And over that time, I've had so many advisors ask me, well, Derek, how did you do that? How do you get inbound leads? How do you work from all over the world? And so that was the real impetus to actually create something where I could help other advisors. Because initially, I just built the virtual business for me. As some of you may have heard, I wanted to be with my son, my wife, and travel and do all these things. So I really wanted to do it for me initially. But then I had the inspiration because so many advisors asked, like, hey, like, how do I do this? And that put me on this trail to where I am today. You guys should also know, like, how is this different? Well, I am still a practicing advisor. I've been an advisor since 2006. I still am doing things on a day-to-day basis with clients, so none of that has changed. So just keep that in mind. I am not some marketer, although marketing is great. I'm not some marketer who came up with something to do it towards advisors. I am an active advisor who's really walking the talk, so to speak. Walking the walk, however you want to say that. So my passion, really, at the end of the day, is to improve our industry by empowering advisors. And what better way to do this? It's kind of the old teach them to fish instead of giving them a fish type of thing. And what I have found is advisors are really awesome, dynamic people, and they love to learn. So why not teach them how to do the things I've done so they can go do them themselves and have this success in perpetuity, if you will. A little bit more about me, just so you guys know. Let's see here. So, yeah, I'm Derek. Been an advisor since 2006. I went virtual in 2013. I'm a qualifying lifetime member of MDRT, most years core to the table. Since going virtual, and 2013 doesn't really count because that was kind of a hack year, but I've generated over, close to actually $2 million of revenue, all virtually, since making that transition. I've been featured on a couple different podcasts. Some of you have listened to these. Some of you may have not. If you haven't, go check them out. They're all pretty cool. But like Michael Kitsis, awesome guy. I'm sure a lot of you know who that is. Model FA with Patrick Brewer. Patrick and his team are doing some really cool stuff. Morningstar, I think we've all heard of Morningstar. And then the Innovating Advice is actually a cool thing with Kate Holmes. She went virtual the same time I did. Unbeknownst to me, we actually just met a couple months ago, and she's doing this really cool webinar for people all over the world for advisors. So a pretty cool thing that she's working on there. One of the things that I did, just kind of a metric for you all, I reduced my overhead by over 54%, while my revenues have continued to increase by 20% a year ever since going virtual. And we'll get more into that in a little bit later. I'm also a gearhead. I've got a 65 Mustang. I love to surf. I'm not very good at it, but I love to surf, and I love to travel. And actually, my 40th birthday is this weekend, and I was supposed to hit 1 million miles on Delta this week, but that all fell apart with the pandemic. So hopefully I'll hit that later this year as things start to get back to normal. We'll see. So over the years, I did a lot of things right. I had success early on as an advisor, and when I started, I've joked about this, I couldn't even spell IRA, right? I just didn't know anything about our industry. So it was just hey, I'm an open sponge, whatever book, I'm a sponge, just give me the information and I'll run with it. And I did, and I had success as a brick and mortar advisor, but it really started to take the life out of me. I think a lot of you probably know what I'm talking about. So I've had a lot of success. Let's not get that wrong. I've got no complaints, but I think there's also a better way to do things. So I also did a lot of things wrong. I didn't question things as an advisor initially. As I said, I just took what people were telling me and I started doing them. And I ended up with this behemoth of a machine of this business that I was a slave to, working a lot of hours, driving a lot of miles, had a ton of high overhead, which was really tough. And then making that transition to virtual, the same kind of problems there. There was no roadmap, and I'll get into this in a little bit, but I ended up doing a lot of things wrong because I just didn't know what was wrong or right. So hopefully you guys can start learning from some of my experiences as we go through here. Okay, so what are some things that I learned after going virtual in 2013? And I think this is kind of cool. You guys are gonna these are some myth busters, if you will. So we'll get into these now. Let's see here. So clients actually love to buy our services and products online. And as some of you may have heard, one of my biggest fears going virtual is I was going to have this max exodus of clients, that they all were going to just leave. Well, it's been 7 years. I only lost one because of going virtual. So I think that's a pretty good proof positive this works. But if you think about it, take yourself out of the advisory role for a second, we do almost everything else online. We buy our groceries, we do our dating, our banking. I even met my new doctor yesterday. I have a new primary physician. We just did an initial chat to get introduced and go over, my stuff. And he even said, he's like, this is the new normal. He's like, unless you've got something serious going on, we're going to be doing all of our stuff virtually, which is fascinating. So I think we have to give our clients, the consumers, some credit. Like, hey, they're already online and they're comfortable buying everything else. Why aren't they comfortable with us? Well, they actually are, and that's what I learned. We no longer, as financial advisors, have to be location dependent. And I did this. I doubled down on this. I bought an office building in a small town, Main Street. Some of you, may have done something similar like that, but we had this big grand opening, ribbon cutting with the chamber and everything. Like, we did it, but we don't need to. It's just it actually became more of a burden than anything. So, given technology, given the way that our world is connected, we don't have to focus on being in a certain zip code anymore. We can do so much more, which is awesome. We can drastically reduce our overhead, right? So I was able, as I said, to reduce my overhead by 54%. And it's actually probably going to be a little bit more because I'm actually shedding some costs in the next month or so. So I was able to cut all these things out that I thought I needed just because everyone else was doing that, and I didn't. So not only was I saving a ton of money every year, but I was able to actually increase my revenues, which is awesome. I think we all want to do that. We all want to make more money. But then I really was able to improve what I like to refer to as an awesome life-work balance. Any of you that are parents on here or thinking about becoming parents, like when you become a parent, your whole world changes. For good reasons, right? But you realize like you're not number one anymore, and you got to take care of these other people, and you start thinking about like, man, I really want to be, around my family, and I don't want to be putting my life on hold. So I really wanted to build a business that allowed me to do that, and that's what I learned, that virtual let me still grow, let me reduce my costs, but then also let me spend more time with my family and pursuing my passions. It's a great way to live a life and run a business. It's also much more than just running a Zoom meeting, okay? I've had this conversation with a number of advisors over the years. They'll say, well, Derek, I've got a Facebook page and I know how to run a Zoom meeting. I'm like, that's awesome because those things are important. But being a totally virtual or even semi-virtual advisor is so much more than just having a virtual meeting. And we'll get into that a little bit more as we go here. But there are so many other components that we have to think about. Even think about it like a large orchestra. You've got more than just one or two instruments going on there. You've got a lot of things that have to be working together in concert. Right. Oops, go back. Yeah, there we go. So I discovered all of this whole going virtual and these busting these myths. I discovered it the hard way. There was no blueprint out there on how to do what I wanted to do. There had been a couple advisors that had done bits of it, super successful people who've actually become friends of mine that I followed and I used as inspiration, but there was no roadmap, playbook, whatever you want to call it, on how to do it. So I had to learn the hard way. And it took me years to figure it out. So the easy way, and we'll get to that, is really being able to learn from someone else's trial and error, someone else's mistakes, and where you can just take this playbook off the shelf and just run with it now. Right, so a little bit more about the hard way. I think this is going to resonate with you guys a little bit. So how many of you worked in a call center or cube center like this in your early days? You feel free to drop a chat in there if you want, but I'm sure many of us did. And I came in, I was doing my phone clinics and something like this and just dialing for dollars. And boy, I mean, I made some money doing it, but boys, it sucked the life out of you. It's a tough business. But I cold call people from a list. Like some of you may know, yeah, the bullpen, I'm seeing a note there. Yeah, the bullpen for sure. Hey, we're all going to meet in the bullpen. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on those days. It was tough. But we started, that's what we did. And most of them, from 6 to 8 o'clock on a Monday night, we would have this hoorah-rah from 5:30 where we'd all get excited and talk about what we had to do. And then we went in and started cold calling these lists. Some of us had warmer markets than others. I didn't. I had just moved to Vermont at the time, and I literally did not know anybody when I moved to the state of Vermont. So I just had to get lists and start calling and talk about rejection. Awful, awful. But I learned a lot. Like I learned how to deal with rejection. I learned how to be better at sales and so forth. So there's some good things that came out of it, but it's definitely the hard way of doing things. We had these walk-and talks. Oh man, like they would, like our partners, our major partners, or whatever, would say, hey, go out and you're going to go business canvassing, walk and talks, and literally you just pop in unannounced to a business owner and say, hey, do you want to buy some investments or some insurance? And like no relationship. Again, a lot of rejection. Sometimes it worked, but it was not the easy way to do things. I had the brick and mortar office with in-house staff, as I mentioned. We bought a building, a business partner and I, which we're actually selling pretty soon here, but we bought this thing, huge building that hadn't been touched for decades, rehabbed it, put all that money into it, and then hired staff. So I'm like, well, these other people, they said to hire staff, so I did. So I had multiple staff in-house, had to pay their salaries, and there's all the other things that come along with having staff and having an office. I remember one night, like 1 in the morning, my business partner and I are in the basement of this building dealing with a broken sewage line. Like, I didn't sign up for that. That's not why I got a brick and mortar office. So like these things happen. I'm sure some of you have some horror stories of your own. Again, definitely the hard way of running a business. I drove tens of thousands of miles. I think my biggest year was 30,000+ miles. Vermont and New England in general is a bit rural, so we had a lot of driving to do, a lot of dashboard time. And it's tough. I was saying it's tough on like, the vehicle, but just like it kind of starts to take the life out of you a little bit. Again, not an easy way. It's not scalable either. I just shudder to think how many hours I spent in the car over all those years. I met with clients on nights and weekends, and that still happens a little bit today, but it's tough when you work a full day prospecting with your phone clinics, and then you go out for a 6 o'clock appointment at night that's an hour away from your house. That's the old way of doing it. That was the hard way of doing it. Yes, you can be successful doing it. I found success doing it that way, but boy, was it a tough way of earning a living. I even rented a kiosk. Well, all our malls here still are closed right now, but we had this big mall in our metro area, and I literally went and got a kiosk with one of my partners, and we stayed there all weekend, standing, trying to get people to come in and talk about their finances. It was expensive, totally time-consuming. Missed the whole weekend with my family. Again, not a fun way to do things. I think we only got one client out of it. And also placed newspaper ads, sent snail mail, all of those things that we've been told to do over the years. Not fun, not scalable, expensive, hard to track ROI. Again, all the hard way. So, I think all of you can resonate or, understand where we're coming from here. I think most of you have probably done some or all of these things. So really what's important to me is being able to, understand that there is a better way to run a business. Most people don't want to do things the hard way, but we don't really have a choice. As an industry, it's tough because our industry is still teaching things that have been done for decades. From literally last century, we're still learning things. And what I've found is, although I had to work hard, this whole working smarter thing that you may have heard of, it's not a myth. There is an easier way to run our businesses where we don't have to cold call, we don't have to meet in person, where we can have this awesome, life-work balance that I've been talking about. Even having clients coming in our sleep. So there is a better way to do things, and I think that's why a lot of you guys are here today is I feel like there's a better way, but I don't know how. So we're going to get into that a little bit as we go here now. So in the past 6 years, as I said, I've made high 7 figures from inbound sales. And I'll talk a little bit more about what inbound sales are as we get going here. But I've done that by actually working less hours. My typical advisory week is anywhere from 20 to 25 hours a week, and I've been able to literally do it. As I say here, I was literally tapped into the internet on the bullet train in Japan doing a financial plan for a client. I've done investments, insurance from Europe, South Africa, wherever. And so it's just been awesome. It's it's possible. This is not a myth. This is not something that is not possible at all. This is totally possible. And remember, this is coming from a guy who didn't know how to spell IRA. Remember, folks, my background is not finance. I got a degree in archaeology. So if I'm able to get through and do this with absolutely no sales experience in my life before becoming an advisor, then I think it's possible for anyone to have something similar to what I'm showing you here today. Okay. So my results, they're not typical, and I'll tell you why. It was a challenge making the transition to being a virtual advisor initially, and that in part was because there was no support. None of the other advisors in the industry were really doing it or thinking about it. There was no roadmap to do it. It was something I had to figure out on my own, but my results are repeatable. The thing is though, you have to be willing to learn. You have to be that sponge. You have to be coachable and have an open mind to doing things differently, which can be a challenge given that our industry for the most part is still stuck in 1985. So if you're an advisor who is open-minded, willing to be coachable and learn and still do the work, like you can decide to climb that mountain. Some of you guys have heard me use this analogy, but you still have to climb it. You still have to do the work. So if you are open like that and you think you can do it, then this, stay with me here. Like I think this is exactly what you're looking for. If not, if you're looking for a Band-Aid or you're stuck in your old ways and you don't want to evolve, then what we're talking about today might not be what you're looking for. It just might not be a right fit. And that's totally cool. It's not for everybody. I'm not selling snake oil here like this is a solution for everybody, but it does have a fit for certain types of advisors who are looking to do things a certain way. So there are 3 secrets or myths, things that I learned. I think the 3 takeaways by going virtual. I'm going to jump into those in more depth here as I explain them. So yes, you can exponentially increase your income while drastically reducing overhead simply by embracing a virtual or semi-virtual model. No question. New clients actually will come to you inbound. This is this whole inbound thing by leveraging what I call a robust digital footprint. You don't have to cold call. You don't have to do in-person meetings anymore, and they will actually come to you. This is another myth busted. Location independence. You can do all of this from anywhere. That's the beauty of it. You don't have to be on Main Street in your city, in your brick and mortar office. You can literally do things from everywhere. So let's get a little bit more in depth about each of these so I can expand upon them a little bit. Excuse me there. So time is money, right? I think we all know that. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's use an example. And I've used this with some folks over the past. So let's say on average you drive 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, 50 weeks a year. And we all probably drive more than that. Maybe not so much right now because of lockdown, but in general, this is how it worked. I usually was on the road a couple hours a day. But that's 250 hours a year in this example. If you do the math, that's 6 1/4 40-hour work weeks in a year that you are in your car. Let that sink in. That's over 6 40-hour work weeks you are sitting in a car not generating revenue. Sure, maybe you're listening to a cool podcast, listen to some tunes, whatever, that's great, but you're not generating revenue, right? That is literally time wasted, and time, well, we can only scale so much. So that is lost revenue, if another way of looking at it. Then you also have your non-revenue producing costs, like you've got rent, your in-house staff, the insurance for them, all the other things that come with running that. Not only can you drop those expenses or a large portion of them, but you can reallocate them for more resources. I went from 2 staff to I think I've got 6 now, and it's costing me less than what I was paying for them. I don't have the high overhead of rent anymore. I don't have the insurance I used to have to worry about. So I was able to reallocate those costs to get more value out of them while still reducing my costs, and then also put more money into marketing. Marketing is an extremely important piece of what we do. We have to be able to tell our story. So I was actually able to put money into marketing and still take home a net positive over what I was spending before. So as it says here, I was able to reduce my overhead by 54%. My revenues continued to increase. And I've got an awesome life-work balance. That's what's so cool. So I think that's the first secret to this inbound sales machine is like you got to think about your time and money and how you can actually scale that to build a business where both are scalable in a way that can help you grow. So what's the second one again? Remind you. So new clients will actually come to you. I've had so many advisors ask me over the years, like, well, how do you get new clients to come to you online? Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't have to cold call anymore. I don't have to go knock on their office door and try to get them to meet with me. You don't. You really don't anymore. It's what's so beautiful about it. And I'm actually going to share some examples with you here in a little bit. So we have to be where people already are and then we have to be present there. I think that's one of the biggest things I can talk about when it comes to this secret. It is so important. So prospecting, I can't stand the term, and I might sound like a broken record for some of you, but prospecting, in my opinion, sounds like a bad medical procedure. Just not something that I would ever be interested in, and if I put myself on the other side of the equation, I would never want to be prospected. But marketing's okay. Marketing's fine. Marketing is the new prospecting. So what do I mean where we must be where people are and then just be present there? People are online. People are on social. People are looking in Google. They're looking at your websites. So we have to be there, but then we have to be engaged there. We actually have to be present. We have to show who we are. We have to be transparent about our pricing, about our lives. Not crazy transparent, but show them enough so people can actually start to get to know you a bit. That's one of the biggest secrets of marketing. Just go where people already are instead of trying to create your own market from scratch, and then just be present and talking about the things that are important to them. We can do this by creating a robust digital footprint. We're just simply entering, and I took this from a friend of mine, Jason Wank, some of you may know him, a great guy. He said this to me years ago. I heard him say this, but like people are having these conversations in their minds already. They're worried about something, or they're curious about something. So if we can have this robust digital footprint where we're present, now we can enter the conversations in these people's minds with our content that start to answer their questions for them. And then they'll be like, ah, that makes sense. I've been thinking about that. Who is this person? I need to know more about them. So it's definitely possible. And we have to be transparent. We have to have a consistent message across all platforms. This allows us to build trust and rapport. And then it empowers these people to actually come to us. And I'm going to share an example about that in a little bit here. Remember, people are watching us online. I think the metrics are somewhere around 90% of people on social media, so there's a lot of people, are what I refer to as creepers. They're just there watching. They don't like posts. They don't comment on posts. They're just watching what other people are doing. So even though you may not be actually getting engaged by some of these folks that you're hopefully marketing to on social media, they're there and they're watching. And if you're not there or not being transparent, that's a red flag for them. All right, the third secret or myth busted that I learned along this journey was that location independence is totally possible. I can work from anywhere in the world, and I can still expand my reach. Now, just because I love to travel doesn't mean all of you have to go start traveling the world. But what this means is, like, maybe you've got a cabin up north that you want to spend more time with. Maybe you've got kids or grandkids in other parts of the country that you want to hang out with. There's all different reasons that you can do this. And location independence is now possible given where we are with technology. So a little bit more about this. The client no longer, so Michael, I took this from Michael Kitces. This is a great quote of his that he put out there. I just changed it a little bit, but clients no longer have to look for the best advisor in their zip code, their city anymore. They can look for the best advisor for them based upon a whole bunch of other scenarios, metrics, whatever you want to call it, anywhere in the country. But if we're not there, they're never going to be able to find us, right? We talked about earlier, like the consumer is comfortable buying so many other things online. If we're comfortable dating, doing our banking, and talking to our doctors online about very, very confidential things, it is not a far cry to think that the consumer is going to be comfortable doing what we do, talking about their money, their insurance, their investments online. It's not a far cry to think about that. But you have to have the proper physical infrastructure, staff, tech, all of these things to actually bring clients into you. And that's a challenge because if you don't know how to do it, because let's face it, there are a ton of moving parts. If you don't know how to put it all together in a really good way, it's going to be tough to bring them in. Right? We want to be able to serve and attract the attention of people no matter where they are. So although I don't think the brick and mortar office is a thing of the past, I'm not saying it's going away. I'm not even saying belly-to-belly is going away, but it's no longer a requirement to be successful. We can do things differently than we ever have been able to do them before. So I want to share an example of an inbound sales. Excuse me again here. This is something that happened that I want to share. My cost of acquisition here was 0, so I'm going to lead you through this and tell you a little bit more about this story. So I first made sure I had a robust digital footprint, had all my infrastructure in place, was doing the things that I teach even in the system. Then I make sure I'm leading with value and education. I'm not talking about product. I'm not talking about rates of return or anything like that. I'm talking about real benefits of and things like that. I'm active and I'm engaged on social. I'm not one of the creepers. Like, I'm actually out there making a statement. Some of you follow me on LinkedIn already. You know I'm pretty active on there. So I'm actively engaged with people on LinkedIn. And this is how potential clients can actually come to you, because they're seeing who you are without having to engage with you just yet. Here's an example. This is a specific example. You can see the date, February 10th of this year, from LinkedIn. I sent this note on the top here to this person who I had identified as an ideal client that fit the profiles I was looking to work with. And as you can see here, I even said, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I just want to connect, share valuable content. We'll see what happens. Well, what you don't see is the next date there, but I didn't hear from this person. They connected with me. I didn't hear anything. They didn't send a message back or anything, which is typical. But then a couple weeks later, I got a note from this person, this direct message here, as you can see right here. Hey, Derek, I've looked at some of your content. Would like to learn more about how you handle clients. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Completely inbound, completely warm, and you can see my response. Happy to schedule a chat. We're just going to go over any questions you have. Dropped in my link for my calendar. So what this turned into, which is really kind of funny, is so we have our initial meeting, and part of my virtual sales process, which I teach, is the first meeting is just a get to know you meeting. We don't talk about money, like what their accounts are, how much they have in their bank account, any of that stuff. We just talk about who they are and who I am, and see if there's a good fit. And his wife got on, and I didn't realize he was married at the time. So his wife got on, and she kind of drove the conversation. And it was really awesome. She even said, she's like, Derek, we stalked you. And she kind of chuckles when she says it, and I'm like, and I'm laughing too. And she's like, it seemed too good to be true. We needed to know who you were. So she's like, we looked at all your posts, we looked at your bios, we looked at Facebook, we looked at your websites, videos, all of these things. And she's like, after looking at all that, it felt like we already knew you, and we were more than happy to start talking to you. So it was awesome. It was a great experience, but none of that would have happened if I had not built that digital footprint and had the actual infrastructure in place to take a new client in virtually. So I've taken them through my virtual sales process. These people are in a different time zone, a different state. It was a state I wasn't even licensed in when they contacted me. So I had to say, like, push pause, let me go get licensed. And now what's happened? Over $15,000 of revenue for the first year, and there's going to be recurring revenue from these clients. Cost of acquisition 0, just led with value. I mean, imagine what that could do to you if you have new people coming to you like this. You didn't have to deal with rejection. You didn't have to just make 100 dials just to get in front of somebody. Like, this came to me, and this is not an isolated incident. This happens on a regular basis for me. Right. Okay. I want to share with you another example. We don't have to belabor this too long. I want to make sure I'm keeping everyone's time here. But this is an example with a current client that I had not seen in, well, it's been about 12 years. I had done one small bit of business for his company, never anything personal. But I re-engaged them through all the online stuff that I do, and we'll talk a bit more what happened here. So again, I had the robust physical and digital infrastructure in place that was necessary. I re-engaged this person by doing some drip marketing, social media engagement, things of that nature, just, soft, more educational, value-led type of information. I was very transparent again when I reintroduced myself, like, hey, here are the new services I'm offering from when we talked about, talked many, many years ago. Here's my pricing structure. Here's my process. Very, very transparent, saying like, yeah, I'm trying to work with you, but there's a ton of value that can come out of it if you do. So all the meetings were virtual. Again, they were in a different state and in a different time zone. Okay, and I had not met this person. Again, it's been about 12 years since I actually saw them in person, and I've only actually met this person for about a half hour in person ever. Took them through my virtual sales process, same as the other client. And you can see here, I actually snipped this out of their financial plan. And they had a whole bunch of things to do. One of the things you can see I highlighted here is that we had to do a 401k roller. He was getting close to retirement, wanted to get risk lower, Ended up doing $1 million rollover with this client, all virtually, all done, direct deposit, easy, and I didn't have to go there to collect a check or anything. And it's actually funny, in the process that this virtual sales process I take people through, we were in the final stage, and he actually came to me. He's like, Derek, how do I implement what you're telling me to do? I never even asked him for the business. I was just showing him how to do things, and he actually came to me asking me, like, how do I do this with you? I want to do this. Again, awesome. Inbound. That's how much first-year revenue I generated off of that case, and there's going to be ongoing revenue from some of it as well. And there's additional stuff that's going to happen in the future. Again, all virtually, never seen this person in the last 12 years. It's been fantastic. Again, so what would that mean? Even if you're going back to current clients that you need to re-engage, if you have this all set up, especially now with the pandemic, where you physically can't go talk to them, it's okay. We can still do this. My best client, my largest client, I just actually did a review this week. I sent them a video and just got caught up with them, gave them updates, and they responded back and were so thankful. It's just a nice way, again, to show like what we're doing and that we can do this all virtually. So how much revenue do you want? I think that's going to be a different question for all of us. But I would say that the virtual or semi-virtual model, if you embrace it, allows you to do quite a bit more than what you're used to. So you're now selling to warm inbound clients. You're not cold calling. You're not going like with this shotgun approach of having so many people to talk to see if you can close a couple. When you have people coming to you inbound, it's easy. They've already purchased before they've talked to you, as long as you take them through a good process. You have a higher closing ratio. That's great. It means more revenue. It's a faster prospect to client timeline. You don't have to worry about physically driving across town, having these meetings. It takes a lot longer. Your meetings are going to be really personal and valuable, but they're more pointed. You're getting to the meat of things much more quickly. So it's a faster timeline. That's great. Lower cost. Some of the stuff that I teach here, it actually doesn't cost you anything but some of your time. And honestly, if I have a choice between sitting in a car for 6 weeks a year or sitting at my desk and marketing online, I'm going to sit at my desk and market online every day of the week. Lower time commitment. I'm spending less time doing the same thing. So how much revenue, is your, and this is going to be different for everybody, but think about your average client and how much revenue they generate in the first 12 months. What if you were bringing in one of those every month, all inbound, that you didn't have to go physically meet? What would that mean to your business? I know for me it's meant a ton. I've been able to do so much because of it. For my family, for my business, for everything. My passions, it's been fantastic. So I'm a little over the 30 minutes already at this stage here, but I just love all of this stuff. I love talking about it, so I'm going to make sure I get through this for all of you here. So I hope that you guys so far have really felt good about what we've been talking about, and feel free to, throw a little thing in the chat box, let me know. But I hope that you guys are getting some value and some education out of this so far. It's been a lot of fun chatting with you to this point. Now, I've spent a long time, years, putting all this together, so it would be impossible for me to cram all of this into an hour for everybody. It's just not a possibility. I think you guys can understand that. I hope you've gained some insights and value from it so far. So, countless of advisors have asked me how to do everything, and that's why I created the system that I have to help other advisors do the same thing. That's why I created Connector. That's just how it is. And there is an offer at the end of this. So yes, I have something here that I think is of value. I'm not trying to sell a salesman. Okay, I get it. I think I've created something of immense value that I think some of you or all of you can really take advantage of and get started right away to do some of the things that I've already done. But we'll get to that in a little bit. And then there's I've got a special offer. I've never done this before that's going to be offered, so stick around to make sure you see that. And don't forget to get that special cash flow worksheet that I'm going to be handing out to everybody at the end here. All right, and we are going to do a live Q&A, so any of your questions you've got coming up, let me know. We were definitely going to get into those. So old habits die hard, okay? I get it. That's just the way our industry is. And I think this is kind of a fun little graphic here, but change is inevitable. And we're not dealing with the meteor right now. We are dealing with the pandemic. And things are going to change. The advisors of the future are being forced to look at things differently, and all of these other old ways of doing business are slowly going extinct. Now, we're naturally resistant to change. That's just the way the human beings are, and we tend to fall back into comfortable or bad habits that we have. Our industry is super slow to change. It's just the way it is, and it's not, I would say, all of our fault, but I mean, I think we're part of it because we just accept what we're being taught instead of challenging the status quo. And those advisors that are coming in today, we're still being taught stuff that's from 1985. Like, it's tough. That's really tough when you're being taught all this, but then you're seeing the world around you and what's going on. It's really tough to evolve when all of that is around you. It's difficult. And then advisors and even life insurance agents, for crying out loud, that's how I started, are unsure of how to operate in today's modern world given the compliance issues that we have and just not having that playbook on how to do things. So building or transitioning to a virtual practice is actually a lot simpler. I'm not going to say easier, but it's simpler than you think. It's something that took me many, many years to figure out because there was no roadmap, no blueprint, no playbook to do it. But it's actually a lot simpler now than it was before to be able to do these types of things. Whoops. So, as I said earlier, I would rather give an advisor the knowledge on how to fish, if you will, right? How to build your own inbound sales machine. So you can build a business that does what you want it to do indefinitely than just giving you a lead. There are a lot of lead services out there. Some of them are actually okay, but they're only just giving you a lead. And what good is a lead, especially if it's coming in online, if you don't have the rest of your virtual business built so you can actually take them through a certain process, especially when we're forced to not be able to sit with people in person. That's a really difficult situation to find yourself in. So the inbound sales machine, the way I put it together in the system I call Connector, is a way that really teaches advisors to be able to build this for themselves in a way that makes them do whatever they want to do possible. And so it's just been so much fun. Like I've had so much fun doing it. So let's talk about a little bit more about what is actually in the system. I want to talk about like anyone who's actually looking at purchasing it. Like there's information on the website, but I'll dive in a little bit more today about like what's actually in the system so you guys can get a better idea. So it's a turnkey system that drives inbound sales, just like what I've already shown you. And it teaches you how to do certain things like really defining what are your hopes, dreams, and goals as an advisor. This is extremely important, and it's been my experience that 9 out of 10 advisors totally glaze over this part of the process. And it's extremely important because it dictates everything else that happens with the rest of your business if done correctly. Same with how to define what your why is, but also your ideal client. We spend a good amount of time on this as well within this system. Then we jump into more of the tactics, like the how-tos. I think coaching is great and it gets us excited, but as advisors, we want to know how to actually do something. Yes, I agree. I want to learn how to fish, but now show me how to fish. So we talk a lot about how do we set up the virtual infrastructure. What are the physical things, the computer, the webcam, all those things that we need to actually run a super successful virtual practice. What do we do with compliance? How do we work with our back office compliance? As some of you may know, I come from one of the most conservative compliance environments in the industry. So I know what you're going through. I get it. I've been through it, and I am still going through it day in and day out. How do we set up and rock our digital footprint? This is something, again, very, very important that people will learn by embracing this system that we have. How to create trust and transparency. This is extremely important. People are not going to buy from you if they don't trust you and you're not transparent about who you are and so forth. So we teach you how to do that in a digital world. It's different than doing it in a brick and mortar type of setting. Let's see here, excuse me. How to build an awesome and repeatable virtual sales process. Right? This is something that is scalable that I use today. I still have clients going through this, new clients going through this. It's awesome, it's repeatable, it's personal, and it works all to the point where they're actually asking to buy from you, as I said in my other example. Building a virtual support team. What do you do with reception? How do you get an executive administrator? What do you do for digital marketing? Where are all your paraplanners? How do you get all of these different support staff to help you build with your business when it's all virtual? We talk about how to build that. So all of that, I've put that value right now at just under 15,000. It's probably a little light, to be honest, but that's about what I would value all of this now, given what other coaching programs out there in the industry sometimes touch upon some of this, and just everything and all the time and energy that I've had to put into this. So who has this worked for? I think there's already been some questions about this, so we're going to jump into that right now a little bit. So who are some of the people that has actually used this and who have purchased the system thus far? Hybrid financial advisors, IARs, independent RIAs, even broker-dealers. These all, like, I guess technically fall into this first category, so this definitely works for folks like this. Financial advisors at insurance BDs. There's a ton of them out there. This works for folks that are in that environment. Independents, no problem, all day long. This works, and it has. And then life insurance agents. And just so you know, I've had people from each of these categories already purchase the system and they're using it today. Right. So I had two choices when creating this whole thing. I could have gone cheap and slapped this whole thing together really quickly, excuse me, and just kept it really high level and conceptual, more of like just a high level, make you feel good coaching program, and try to just get it out there to as many people as possible. That's just not my style, folks. This is not how it works, and it really didn't give me an incentive to create a really awesome system. In my word, I guess in other words, it would have been kind of cheap to do it that way. So that was not the option that I chose. What I ended up doing is I actually spent a ton of time and money investing in creating the system in a way that has a tremendous amount of resources, value, that can actually help advisors. That if they actually follow the system and use it, they can actually be successful. So option 2 was a no-brainer for me. That's what I chose to make this happen. So Greg here is a friend of mine. He's also an advisor. He's been in the industry for over 20 years, and this is just a fun quote you can see here because he is extremely familiar with my system. He was one of the early adopters of it, and totally understands what it's all about. And you know, if I've got a guy who's been in the industry longer than I have tell me this is the way things are going, I have to take that as some credibility. I really appreciate it. He's become a friend of mine, but it's better to hear what other people have to say. I can talk to you guys all day long, but it's good to see what other folks are saying as well. So again, this is all the stuff that we're going to get. A ton of total value in there if you're interested in actually evolving and looking in this system. But I want to talk a few more things here. One, there's a bonus that I'm offering. Part of the system includes a virtual mock experience. I actually take you through my entire virtual sales process, all recorded from intro all the way through to close with people I had never met before in person. It's an amazing experience. Now, for compliance purposes, I wasn't actually allowed to do business with them, but I took them through the exact process that we did all the way up to recommendations where then they had to go somewhere else to do it. So that's included as part of my system, so you can actually see exactly how I handle objections, the method, the verbs, or excuse me, the way I speak to them, mannerisms, all of those things. Terribly important so you can actually see that experience. Also, I've got a really cool way just to drive endless warm referrals, and you can do that from a couple different angles, which I love. I teach that in the system as well, which is a ton of fun, and it's easily repeatable by anybody that that actually gets into it. So again, you've got all of this that we've already talked about, a ton of value there. It's a ton there. It really is a ton there, but we'll get to it. So hold on a second. So if all of this system did was make your business profitable or more profitable, would it be worth it? If it gave you the kick in that butt to finally kind of take your business to the next level, to like realize like, hey, this pandemic is forcing change. What are we going to do? Like, would it be worth it if this system actually helped you do that? If building a virtual business, creating this inbound sales machine actually helped you do this? If it empowered you to bring in new clients all virtually, making more money, reducing your overhead, and just having this awesome life-work balance, like, wouldn't that be worth it? You know, a lot of the advisors that I've talked to over the days, like, these are the things that they're looking for, and I'm proof positive that it works if you adopt and evolve this virtual process and model that we're talking about. So, again, think about what's one client worth to you? How much is that? A year, a month, whatever it is. Think about that. You know, and how much would you be willing to invest in something that helped you get to that client on a regular basis, ongoing? What is it? One new client per month. How does that add up? If you were to get one new client a month, I mean, think about it. One-time investment to build a business, and this is what I've done. This is why it's repeatable. This is why I continue to bring in clients today, is I built a business that's almost on autopilot at this point. As long as I'm doing the things that I do that I've taught in the system. I had to invest once up front, just like you. I had to put time and money in to build it, and a lot more because it wasn't built before, to bring in these new clients. And now it's on an ongoing thing. So the system pays for itself very quickly and then many times over indefinitely. You know, I'm not looking to charge people an ongoing price for being able to take advantage of my model and my system or anything like that. That just wouldn't be fair. I'm trying to teach you, I'm trying to give you that fishing pole, if you will, and teach you to fish so that you can go off and do it as long and as much as you want. So it's a good deal at $10,000, given that the value is pushing $20,000. And honestly, for some advisors, I've even been thinking about starting to charge $5,000 to the general public, just because I've been told by a lot of advisors and also even Fortune 500 companies, like, hey, $2,500 is what you're going to see here too. That just is too little. You have to charge $5,000 or more. And I just don't feel like that's fair. I think that's too much of a roadblock and a barrier to entry to get advisors into what we're doing. But yeah, you are special. I mean, you've stayed with me this entire time so far. Your time is valuable. I get it. And what's awesome is over 90% of you that started with me today are still here. That is fantastic. And a couple of you already emailed me saying you had to take off because of different time zone changes and family commitments. So that's awesome. This is actually resonating with you guys. I really, really appreciate you all sticking around as long as you have. So I appreciate you being special and being here. But also part of the virtual model is I leverage the virtual model to build this system to help other advisors. What does that mean? It means it costs me less to make it than a traditional system like this would cost. It has lower ongoing costs for me to operate this company just because of the virtual model that I've really just totally run with because I love it. I love it so much. So right now, what I'm offering for people today, and this is already published on the website, is that this is what I'm offering the system at. It's a one-time fee for lifetime access for everything in the system that's there now and anything that's going to be added in the future. And I'll tell you right now, I am testing something that is, I think, going to be a game changer for driving even more inbound sales. And as soon as I've proven it works, then I'm adding it to the system. Let's talk a little bit more about this. So something else that you can get as a bonus is each person's different. Each advisor is different. Each advisor has unique circumstances and questions and challenges. So I'm giving one-on-one consultations with any advisor that comes into the system and I usually recommend that they go through the system first, go through because a lot of the questions are answered as you go, but then you get to meet with me one-on-one, virtually of course, to learn more about whatever it is you want to learn about. Like I'm here to tell you and talk about best practices and deal and work through those challenges that you may have. So again, all of that's included in the value today, and also for the next 48 hours. I've never done this before. I'm taking 10% off of all the different payment options. There are 3 if you go take a look at the website now. They're all there. It's all baked in. You just have to jump on it. But for the next 48 hours, if all of this resonates with you, 10% off whatever the prices are on there. Let's go a little bit further. I think you guys are all going to get a real kick out of this picture. This is so true. I've seen this happen so many times, but I would say most older advisors in our industry are on the left-hand side. They're the general that's walking off there and doesn't have time for a better way to do things, while you've got these young upstarts like, hey, I've got this solution here. Why aren't you guys looking at doing something with this? So I would say all of you advisors right now that are on the call, you have 2 choices. You can do nothing and stay where you are today, continue working like you're working, continue doing the things that you're doing, with the same constraints, the same results, the same lifestyle that you've kind of built for yourself. And maybe that's great. Maybe that's totally where you want to be. I'm guessing if you've been on with me this long today, you probably are looking for something else. And that's where the other choice comes in, is like, make a small investment. There's a ton of value here. Make a small investment that is going to be able to help you transform not only your business, but your whole life. Like if you're improving your business, your advisor experience, you're going to be happier and more energetic. You're going to make more money. Your clients are going to be happier. Everybody wins. So you have to really think about this. Like, where are you with your business? And is it at that time where like, yep, it's about time to make a change. I got to do something differently, and here it is. So the real question at the end of the day for you guys is like, is it worth investing in the system, even if it only did half of what I'm claiming it's going to do, if it pays for itself many times over in the next 12 months? I think so. I think so, and I would hope that that this resonates with people. Like this is a small investment, especially percentage-wise, when you're considering what it can do. Also, I will let you know, because I've got folks from all over the world on here. I am in the middle of building this, so if you are based in a different country where the currency exchange is killing you, don't worry, I'm going to fix that, so it's going to be a fair price to you outside of the United States. So, tale of two people. Which one do you want to be? So I've kind of coined the term on the left, fads come and go. Do you want to be a financial advisor dinosaur? I'm sure some of you guys recognize who this guy is. But is that the person that you want to be? Do you want to be, doing things the old way and let the industry just kind of, and the consumers in general just all kind of move on without you, and slowly just leave the industry and not be able to live the life that you want to do? Or do you want to be forward thinking? Do you want to be the next generation of advisors who is really trying to do things differently, to work from anywhere, to have this awesome life-work balance, make more, spend less? I mean, the choice is yours at the end of the day. It really depends on what you want to be and what you want your business and your life to be. So if you're interested, this is all you have to do. You just go to this website right here. You click on on the Purchase the System Now button, and it's all done. You just fill it out. You can pay with Stripe, PayPal, credit card, whatever. It's easy. It's done. That's as simple as it gets right there. Again, what you're going to get, all of the different value, lifetime access to, there's content, there's strategies, scripts, downloads, all these other things that people can use, and you have lifetime access to this system. It's a major value that I'm offering for just a percentage, a small percentage of what you're actually going to get. Again, the industry is evolving, folks. Who do you want to be here, right? We don't have a choice. The pandemic has forced evolution. It has forced things to change, and evolution is good. So do you want to be stuck somewhere on the left here in the going extinct category, or do you want to be that advisor of the future? I was tired of doing all of these things, and I'm guessing some of you are tired of doing the same thing. So I would encourage you to think about doing things differently and looking at trying to evolve as the whole industry is starting to do the same thing. The consumer expects us to be giving them the advice and products that they want and need, but not like it's 1985 anymore, guys, like it's 2020. That's what they are expecting, and if we don't give them that, they are going to go to advisors that are. We have to choose to evolve or go extinct. It is a choice. One more philosophy here I want to share with you, and then we'll wrap this up and do a little bit of Q&A for everybody. So the supercar philosophy, that's me driving a Lamborghini Huracan. I got up to 160 miles on the track. And after driving all of it, what I learned is that it's not one individual part that makes it so valuable. It's the knowledge of how to put it all together. And that's what I've created with this system. There are many moving parts here. Some of you already have those moving parts, but it's the knowledge, it's the blueprint of how to put it all together for maximum performance to drive in inbound leads. And that's what I learned after driving that car. Is I had so much appreciation for it. And it's a cool looking car, great engine, tires, brakes, all that stuff. But none of that matters if Lamborghini had not figured out how to put it all together in a way that just drives performance. That's where the rubber really hits the road in this case. So after all the years, like you're paying for my 5+ years of trying to figure out how to build a virtual practice. You're not paying for one little thing on a website. You are paying for years and years of research, trial and error, all the things that I have learned so you can do it much faster and much better than I ever did when I started. Again, what you're going to get, all the value that's in there, it's a ton of value. Again, here, there you go. We're going to wrap this up here in a little bit. I'm going to drop this cash flow worksheet in here for everyone that's stayed with me. I really appreciate it. I'm dropping that in there now for everybody, so go ahead and download it. I think you're going to love it. It really blends your personal and your business stuff all together, which is super important when you are building a practice. And I tell you, it's part of what we teach in the system. Is on the personal side. If you don't have a handle on your cash flow, personal and business, you're going to have serious problems. And I apologize there, you don't need a code for the discount on the purchase. You can just go in right in. It's already baked in. No worries for the next 48 hours. If you've got personal questions you want to ask me directly, send me an email. It's my email address right there. Otherwise, people are free to start dropping me some questions. I've already got a couple here, so let's take a look. Excuse me. So what broker-dealer do I partner with to do the virtual life? I'm part of the New York Life broker-dealer, one of the most conservative in the industry. So if I can do it there, you guys can do it anywhere. Let's see here. We've got another one from a gentleman here, 26-year-old consultant with a national broker-dealer. Yes, you want to team up. Awesome. Well, that's definitely possible. Why don't you send me an email directly, and let's chat offline about that. Totally cool. Another question here. So let's say we start from the ground zero. How long to get digital footprint, website, blog going, all that stuff? So it does take some work, folks. It's just not something that's going to start overnight. A lot of the stuff you can actually get set up with in a couple days. I would say that realistically, if you are just starting out day one today, and for example, if you're an advisor that's been in business 1 month, this is not for you. You're not there yet. Excuse me. But I would realistically say 90 days, give or take, to get everything up and running, and then just staying consistent with it. Consistency and action is absolutely key as you're building this. Let's see here. All right, got a thank you there. Very good. I appreciate that. Oh, sorry for the phone call there. We're in the home office today. So another question about with New York Life. No, I'm not captive, and most of us actually aren't. So kind of a hybrid, funny deal, but I'm pretty much open architecture at this point. What other questions do you guys have about the system, about my practice, about what you get? I'm here. Like, the time is yours now, folks, so please let me know. What are your questions? And actually what we can do here, we're going to do a live Q&A. This will be kind of fun here, folks. All right, so I'm going to turn on this Q&A where you guys can actually ask me questions for the whole group. So I'm guessing if you've got a question everyone else does, and they can be live questions, which is pretty cool. I'll start that in a second. So what do my expenses look like now? My expenses, happy to share them. I'm only paying, excuse me, I'd have to look at the actual number, but it's about $3,000 a month for everything that I'm doing. Yeah, it's maybe just a hair under that, but that includes everything, and that's actually going to drop because I was renting a small office, which was almost $600 a month, just so I could be out of the house. But being in the house for 2 months now, I've made it work, so I'll be getting rid of that. So yeah, I think my overall costs are going to be around $2,500 a month, and that's for everything. That's for all my digital marketing. That's for my infrastructure, my staff, you name it, everything. Yeah, it's a cool picture. It's a heck of a lot cheaper than my overhead before was 6 figures, easy, when I was running my brick and mortar business. So you can see how much less it really can get. Content generation process look like. So content generation is a great question. So it starts with, what are your clients asking you? What are people searching for online? There's a lot of different ways that you can think about content creation, and that's what we teach in the system, is how do you come up with those things? Where do you create that content? How do you do cool graphics for free? All of those things. So we get a lot into that. It's kind of hard to go down it now, but I would say the best place to start is, what are your clients asking you already? And then start creating content around that. Let's see here. What else we have? A couple other questions. I want to make sure we get to these as much as we can. Does the system include what I'm doing on LinkedIn right now? Yes, it does, in detail. Let's see here. What else we have? Is it possible that the virtual practice may not work as good in country that is less developed? Well, it's probably not going to work in all countries. But I will tell you, like, I'm very familiar with South Africa, which is definitely got its challenges, and it works there. So there are some countries I suppose it couldn't work, but if you've got a specific question, like, let me know. Let's talk about it. So the $2,500 a month that I'm spending on my business, very little of that's actually towards marketing, because honestly, I haven't spent a whole lot of money on marketing, and I have not for years. I'll boost a post or do an ad from time to time, but I really don't spend a whole lot on marketing. I am working on something to do that where you can scale like super fast, but I'm not quite there yet. I wanted to build it first. Advisors are nickel and dime from every way we are, and if you're especially making a transition to a virtual model, yeah, you're going to save money, but you don't want to just start spending everything again. So I've tried to teach it in a way where people can get up and running right away with little or no cost on a lot of the things that we do. Let's see here. What else do we have? A lot of great questions in here. I really appreciate it from everybody. Thank you. Let's see here. Does the system include LinkedIn? Yep, we already talked about that. We talked about that. Yeah, go back up in the cash sheet or up in this chat to get the cash flow worksheet. I can drop it in again for everybody. I'll drop it in right now just so you guys have it. There it is. How much of what let's see, here's the question. How much of what you do did you get from Jason Wank? Actually, not much. I even took one of Jason's classes a while back and had some great stuff here, but Jason and I have talked actually just recently about my system. More to come on that, but it's a lot different than what he had. So not a whole lot, actually, to be honest. What's my birthday this week? My birthday's on Saturday, folks. So thanks for asking there. Any monthly calls or group calls for members? So that's something that I want to build in. Right now, I've already created a private LinkedIn community. So anybody that's in the system gets to be part of this LinkedIn community where we can ask questions, share challenges, stories, successes, and work through all of them together. I'm also available via email too. Like I'm really trying to be available for anyone that's involved here because I know it's a journey. So like don't hesitate to email me if you've got questions once you're in the system. I still have advisors in the system now that will email me offhand. Hey, what do you think about this? I did this. How do you like it? Stuff like that. Let's see, there's another question here. Does most of your clients who work with you virtually from younger group or include? Great question about age, about advisors working with me. I'm sorry, clients. It runs a wide range. I have everywhere from people in their 20s, which kind of makes sense. They're more comfortable with tech, all the way to people up in their 70s, no problem. I always say, if an older person, grandma, grandpa, can FaceTime their grandkids, they can work with you virtually. It's the same thing. Excuse me. What other questions do people have here? Happy to chat. I've got a few more minutes. So people, I know we're over, so I really appreciate you all hanging along as you have. But please ask any other questions. And if you like, if people can put in the chat box, I'm happy to do the live Q&A if people would rather just ask their questions. What is your percent revenue of AUM-based commission? So I used to be 100% commission. Then I switched over, where now I'm both. So right now, I would say revenue-wise, I'm probably 60 to 65% AUM from revenue, and then the rest is commission-based. So a nice blend of all of it together. So tech question, what CRM do I use? I use Salesforce and a couple other free things that I add lib to that, and I use eMoney as my planning software. And again, that's one of the things we talk about in the system is I get in depth with here's what I'm using, but again, I built the system in a way where you guys can plug and play. Maybe you like Money Guide Pro. Maybe you like a different CRM. It doesn't matter. I've got this blueprint that you guys can now customize based upon your comfort level, your tech environment, your compliance environment. That's what's so cool about it is it's not Derek's way or the highway. It's a lot of different ways that you can put this together, which is pretty cool. And again, I'm also adding content to this stuff regularly, so you guys will get more access to things as it goes, which is pretty slick. Remember, I'm an active advisor, so I'm doing these things, and I'm testing them, making sure they work, and then I put them in there. And that's more proof positive than I think you could ever get. What other questions do folks have? Anything is game right now, people, so let me know. What else do you have on your mind that you want to ask that you're not sure about? The time is yours. I'm just trying to scroll back and see if we have anything else here. Okay, well, I think we'll probably get into the end there. Here. Well, throw another question in there if you have them. Let's see, how many marketing channels do I currently use? So yes, I have 2 websites. A blog is one of them. I have Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Those are all the approved vendor options, channels that I have through my compliance department. Now, each situation is going to be slightly different, but those I have found are enough to do everything that I could ever want to bring in new business. So it's more than enough, and I would guess that most people, most advisors have access to the same types of things. It's frustrating that we can't have YouTube yet, but there are other services where you can embed videos on your websites, which I've done, so you can still do video on LinkedIn and so forth. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but yeah, those are the main ones that I'm using. Good question. Any hesitations, challenges, concerns, more technical questions? Like I'm here, like this. The time is here is yours, folks. And some of you, I think, are just on phone. So what I'm going to do here, after I answer this next question, is I'll put it on to the actual live thing so people can ask questions over the phone if they like. How long did it take me to start attracting clients that were worthwhile? It's a good question. So first thing is, folks, you have to know who your ideal client is. When I started, it was a shotgun approach. I was working with anybody that would fog a mirror, and yeah, I made some money doing it. Oh, but man, it's awful. It really wears on you, and then you end up with this book of business that is so scattered. So part of what we teach in the system is we talk about who your ideal client is and actually help you figure out who that really is and then how to vet that, and then you can start marketing to them. So I think once you build the right digital footprint and you know who your ideal client is, you can start bringing in clients very quickly because you know who you're marketing to. So remember, when you're marketing to people and they see you're just some generalist that does retirement planning, well, they're like, well, who are you? Like, I have the choice now as the consumer with technology to work with whoever I want. I want someone that knows me and gets me. And that's the challenge, is if you don't do that stuff, they're never going to want to work with you. As far as life insurance registered rep side, yep, I totally understand that. We talk in depth about how to create a website, a blog that's compliant, whether it's a DBA or not, that doesn't really matter, to be honest. That's more of a branding thing. You can use a DBA if you want. You don't have to. But oh yeah, we go in depth. How do you write a blog? There's a blog template in there. How do you create a website that actually is impactful? What should be on the website? What shouldn't be on the website? We go in depth on all of that with templates, walkthrough videos, best practices, all of that type of stuff. So yeah, we get really into the weeds. Again, this isn't a coaching program to pat you guys on the back. We all have enough of that already. We start with motivation, inspiration, and getting clear on things, but then we get right into the tactics and strategies on how to do exactly the things that I have done, so you can actually see how to set them up yourself. I think that's really important. A lot of you don't need another pat on the back. A lot of you need help building a business that actually is doing what I'm doing right now. All right, I'm going to let it open up on the phones here. If anyone want to do a live chat, it'd be kind of fun. We can do a live stuff here, so let's listen for this. Okay, so if anyone wants to put in a live question where you can actually chat with me, now is the time to do it, folks. So please go ahead, just request, and then I can give you the floor for a moment, and you can ask your questions. Let's see, there's another question here while we're waiting. So virtual practice lets client work with advisor in any zip code or country. Is it appropriate to work with clients from another country? That's a good question. I think that's from Kevin. That'll depend on your compliance background, if you can actually work with clients outside of the country. It all depends on licensing and so forth. So that's a specific question for your back office that you would have to talk to them about. All right. Anyone else on the phone that would like to drop in a question that they have? Let's see. Yep. Okay, folks. That's okay. No worries. I think we've had a lot of great questions here, and we're definitely over time. But thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And yeah, Brad Johnson podcast. I know what you're talking about, Josh. Already talked to him. Already in the works, buddy. Keep an eye out for it. Definitely doing it. Yeah, just trying to tell this story as many ways as possible. There's a lot of good people out there. He seems like a really good dude, so it'll be exciting to be on there. Okay, well, if you guys have any other questions, like, I'm here for you. So my email's there. It'd be awesome to have you join us. Like, I'm trying to create a tribe here, people, a community of advisors that are looking to do something different and better and have an awesome experience building a business, but also living an awesome life. So this is something we're trying to really build, this amazing community where we can all be together. So I really appreciate everybody being on the call today. You guys definitely gave me a lot more of your time than I was asking for, so thank you. Again, you have specific questions, send me an email. The email address is right there. That's fine. Awesome. We would love to have it. And just keep in mind that that discount is only good for the next 48 hours, so make sure to jump on that. It's not something that I've ever offered before, and I don't know if I'm going to offer it again, to be perfectly honest. If anything, I actually might be increasing the cost of the overall system later this year as I add more content to it. So you guys all rock. Sending positive vibes to you all. Thank you so much for being around today. And I'm available via email if you guys have any other questions, or we can even jump on a virtual chat. All right, folks, everybody take care. Be good, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll chat with you later, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.